Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, I'm here for PAPERTREY Ink today, and we are going to create a floral card. We're using one of the brand new die sets from the PAPERTREY Ink shop. This is the Into the Blooms Gardenia die set. It has two beautiful gardenias, some long stems, and then there's also some pretty leaves that you can put with your gardenias. I love gardenias, so I was excited about this. Sometimes people think gardenias might be hard because for the most part they're white, but I'm going to show you an easy way to create some gardenias today. So the Into the Blooms Gardenia die set, and then for my background I love a little bit of texture, and so we're going to be using the cornered Snowflakes die set. There's two corners in here, and they're beautiful snowflake images, and we'll put this on our background panel. For my sentiment, I'm going to be using the Just Sentiments Believe stamp set. This stamp set has a lot of fun Christmas. I like the 'Tis the Season for Believing. I think that's going to go perfect with our card today. So we're turning a floral card into a Christmas card. Let's jump in and do a little bit of die cutting. Since for the most part gardenias are white, we're going to go ahead and take some white cardstock and some green cardstock for the leaves. Okay, I have the gardenia. The Into the Bloom Gardenia die set is a layering die set, and I mentioned that there's two flowers, very easy to layer together. I'm just going to place all the flower pieces on white cardstock, and then there are 3 leaves, 2 single ones, and one little branch, I guess you could say. For that, I'm going to use simply chartreuse cardstock. Let's grab that, and we will die cut these out. And while we're die cutting, I'm going to take one more piece of white cardstock, and using our cornered snowflakes, I'm going to add some snowflake pattern to each of my corners. And I'm going to line them up here, and then I'll die cut this out, and then I will flip this around and add my corners to the top. So we're going to basically kind of create a little bit of a frame using our snowflake corners. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and run everything through my die cut machine, and when I am done I will be right back. Okay, I have everything die cut. Now, as I was showing with you what I was die cutting, this die here, let me show you, goes to this flower. Now, instead of die cutting this out with white, I wanted a green center, so I die cut that out with my Simply Chartreuse cardstock too. So we are going to go ahead and layer our card to do that. And this is our beautiful corners. Aren't those snowflake corners just beautiful? I think this is going to be a great background for our card. I'm going to set this off to the side and work on our layering. We don't need to layer our leaves, so these are going to go over here. Before we do layer, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my craft mat, and we're going to add a little bit of ink blending to our white. This is going to basically differentiate the layers, and it's going to give me a little bit of shading to my gardenias. To do that, I need a really soft gray ink, and soft stone works perfectly for that. And I'm just going to use my finger dauber, and I'm going to lightly go around the edges here. For the most part, I'm keeping it white. I just want a little bit of color. And I'm going to do that to all of the pieces. Now I have a little bit of color to all of my gardenias. It's kind of hard to tell with my camera lighting, but once you put it against white, let me show you. I'm going to put it against my card base. And you can really see it once it's against the card base. Okay, while we are ink blending, I'm going to take my leaves and also that centerpiece here, and I'm going to add a little color using olive twist ink to each one of these leaves. And we're just going to go around the edges here, like so. Just a little bit of ink to your cardstock really kind of makes your florals dimensional, and I love that look. So I have a little bit of ink on each one of my die cut elements. Now I'm gonna start with this piece because I'm gonna pop this up to give my floral a little bit of dimension. So I'm gonna use my glue and add a little dot, and then I'm gonna add my flower center here. And there is a guide on your packaging that tells you where to put it. And I'm gonna basically line this top piece up to the corner here. I'm gonna add one more dot of glue, and then we can add this piece here. This piece goes, it fits like a puzzle to that smaller piece that we just laid down. You can see here. It just fits like a puzzle. Okay, and then I'm going to flip this around, and we're going to add a small foam square behind here. Maybe a couple of them. If you don't like dimension on your cards for mailing, you could just glue this down. Now, this piece here, there's a point on this flower, and this is where your guide on your packaging will show you. And then there's a point here. These actually line up. So you just line this up here, and then that is your gardenia. Really pretty. Now to create your next gardenia, it's just as easy, and I want to do the same thing. I'm going to use my glue, and I'm going to add it to the bottom. I'm going to flip over this piece, add a little bit of glue. If you wanted to add some extra dimension, you could. And this lines up here on the very bottom. It just fits like a glove. And then I'm going to add a little more glue here to this piece. And then this piece will layer right here like a glove. So you have a little bit of dimension here. There's 3 layers. Let me show you. You can see the dimension that this gives. I'm going to flip this around, and we're going to add some small foam squares behind here. And then this, you're going to find the matching point. This one's pretty easy. It's this one here. You can see that they're the same shape. You just line this up. You can tack it down, and that's your next gardenia. How pretty is that? Really pretty. Now our flowers are good to go, and we have a little bit of dimension to them. I didn't mention this, but the size of this panel is 4 inches by 5 1/4. So this is smaller than my card base. This is a card front panel, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. So this is going to go directly on my card base. It's going to cover it completely. Since I have my glue out, I'm just going to use my glue. I like using panels because it stretches my cardstock. And then we have our beautiful cornered snowflakes. Okay, before we adhere this, I'm going to go ahead and flip over my gardenias. We're going to put some foam squares behind here. And I'm just putting one in the center because I like to tuck. I'm going to tuck my leaves in here. And I'm not going to add any foam adhesive behind my leaves, but after we have this done, we need to stamp our sentiment. Again, I am using the Just Sentiments Believe stamp set, and I like this one here. I'm going to stamp my sentiment in between these 2 snowflakes on my cornered snowflake panel, and I'm going to use my olive twist ink. I think that's a real pretty ink. We'll just stamp this in the middle, a little bit lower than the middle. It stamps beautifully. And then I'm going to remove the release paper off of my flowers. And I want them to kind of overlap. So let's add our flowers here. And I'm kind of going to go around my sentiment. And then we can tuck our leaves under our flowers here. The nice thing about glue is you have a little bit of wiggle room. I think that looks nice. Okay, now that our flowers are adhered, I'm going to flip this around, and then we're going to add some foam tape behind here. And I'm going to go here and here and skipping the corners. So it's going to look like it's floating. I'm going to remove the release paper off of my background. We're going to flip it around, and I'm going to place this on my card base, making sure it's centered. Last but not least, I'm going to bring in some Papertrey ink Moonshine Sequins. And this is fresh, the color Fresh Snow. They're like a cloudy white. And we're going to add just a few sequins. I'm going to put one on the petal here and do a little tucking with one. And I'm going to do one more thing. I want a little bit of sparkle to that flower center. And that finishes off my card today for Papertrey Ink. I hope you enjoyed it. I love this gardenia. This is the Into the Blooms Gardenia die set along with the cornered Snowflakes die set. Thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon.